So a lot of trainers would say like no pain, no gain, and like you have to grind to really get your results that you want, right? That's not really my vibe though. So my philosophy is more building the basics so you're able to have fun with movement, so you're able to do the things that you want. You should be training to enhance your life, and your training should allow you to do more of the things. Whether it's, running around chasing after a child, a grandchild, or being able to do handstands on the beach, or random things like that. Just like being able to climb up a rock or go on a hike with someone. Things like that. Your fitness should enhance things, not take away from things. And that's going to be important. So your, recovery for your workouts, fitness shouldn't necessarily take over your life unless you want it to, right? And honestly, like most of your training is not going to look fancy. It's not going to be crazy. It's doing the basics over and over and over again, and that will lead you to results. The basics being mobility, flexibility, and strength, and then combining all of these things in a balanced way that helps you reach your goals. So depending on what your goals are, that's gonna determine your level of balance of all of these things. Everyone should have a balance of mobility, flexibility, and strength, just because our bodies were made to move, and we need that mobility to stay out of pain, we need that strength to stay out of pain, things like that, and that way we can do the things that we want to do as well. But in general, you want to look at the requirements of the activity that you want to do, whether it's like building an aerobic base for a hike that you have to go to, building strength to be able to go rock climbing with a friend, things like that. You want to look at the demands of the activity, and then you can base your training on that. That way you can build up to those components of what that activity requires and then go from there. You also want to find a way of moving that includes the basics, yet is still fun and enjoyable to you. Some people prefer group classes. Some people like working out with a partner. Some people like working out by themselves. Any of these are okay. Some people don't like working out in the gym. That's completely fine too. You can find a park, or you work out at home, or things like that. Anything that works for you is completely okay. To be honest, I grew up doing gymnastics, so when I retired, I hadn't really been in a traditional gym. And I saw people working out in a traditional style way, and so that's how I thought I needed to train. And it was not the most pleasant for me. I mean, I still did it because I liked moving, but I was like, something is missing. And then that's when I found calisthenics online, and then actually started including that in my training because I didn't think it was an option for me to include. Any sort of movement is completely okay for you to include if it makes you happy and allows you to reach your goals and keeps you moving. So don't be limited just by what you're seeing in your gym or what you're seeing online. Try different styles of working out. If you prefer like more HIIT style classes, or you prefer more bodybuilding, if you prefer more calisthenics, any of these things are fine. If you want to go rollerblading or, running or any of these things, dancing, be creative, and that's really going to make a huge difference for you when you find what you actually like and enjoy doing. Do keep in mind though that you will have to still work on the basics so you can be able to do those things. So there's certain things that you might not enjoy doing, but it allows you to do that, and then you can balance the two. So for example, like I do a lot of shoulder prehab because I've had a history of shoulder issues. If you want to check out my shoulder prehab program, I'll go ahead and link that below, and then I'll go ahead and link like a shoulder workout for you. I do a lot of that style stuff, so I can do the fun stuff like muscle ups and ring flows and flips and whatnot. These things make me happy. The shoulder prehab stuff is something that allows me to do that, and I understand that inherent value, and so I prioritize that. So just keep that in mind. Not everything is going to be fun all of the time, but your main training can be fun and allow you to do the fun stuff. Also, do keep in mind that consistency is a lot of the picture. So consistency over time leads results, and it's not going to be, switching things up randomly. It's not going to be starting something and then stopping something and then, waiting a couple months and then starting again. It is literally just the consistency over many, many years. And a lot of people don't realize how long things take. So again, nothing happens overnight, unfortunately. Beginners often will find the most improvements early on because you're learning the movement patterns. The nerves are learning how to fire in a more efficient way to then lift more weight or move better or things like that. As you get more and more trained, it becomes harder to see those results as quickly because you're working more so with the pure strength changes in those muscles. And the pure strength changes in those muscle fibers takes about 6 to 8 weeks or so. You might see some gains before that, especially if you're a beginner, because of those neuromuscular adaptations, aka the firing of the nerves is just more efficient. But if you're more trained, then your nerves are already pretty efficient, unless you're doing a different movement pattern, and then you might see some of those, like, that's why sometimes like the first rep is a little bit clumsy when you're learning a different movement pattern, and then it gets easier. It's because your brain and your body is learning the movement pattern. And then you also have to be consistent with your training. So you can't necessarily be switching up your workouts every single time you go to the gym. Muscle confusion isn't necessarily a thing. Yes, you need variety in your workouts, so you can train your muscles in a slightly different way, but you need to be consistent with those movement patterns and the basic movement patterns the majority of the time, and then include periodic switch-ups of those variations to kind of keep things interesting, to work the body in a slightly different way, and things like that. So think fundamental movement patterns. So you have squat, lunge, push, pull, hip hinge, and a carry. You can also think of like a vertical push, a vertical pull, a horizontal push, a horizontal pull, and then like pushing and pulling with the legs or things like that. So you can classify movements in different directions. And so if you take like the squat, for example, you have tons of different variations of the squat. So you want to be consistent with that, whether it's 2 weeks, whether it's 4 weeks. I would even say you could go up to 12 weeks doing the same exact workouts, depending on how bored you get. So I get bored fairly easily with my workouts. So my workouts are typically, 4 weeks or 6 weeks, depending kind of on how long it takes me to get it done, honestly. But like, I'm doing the same workout at least 4 times over the course of a month to 6 weeks. And that, the consistency of that, I might do a slight variation, or I might change the number of reps or change the tempo slightly just to keep myself interested, because I get bored easily, but I'm doing the same exercises and the same movement patterns to make that progress over time. And then you also want to consider progressive overloads. With that consistency of things, the consistency allows you to progressively overload things, which makes you get stronger. So progressive overload could be increasing the weight, increasing the time under tension of the muscle. So this could be changing the tempo, adding a pause, adding a pulse, things like that. It can also be progressing the exercise itself. So maybe you're doing like a squat and then going to a single leg squat or something like that. But all of these things can lead to those gains over time, and that requires consistency. Don't forget as well that anything can be progressed or regressed based on your current level. So if you see something crazy online, you can regress that to your current level. Like, the fun part about movement is that it can be adapted to you and your body and where you're at this point in time. It doesn't have to be what someone else is doing. It doesn't have to look the exact same way. You can make it fit your own body. So like, if you're seeing someone doing a pistol squat, for example, and you're not able to quite get that depth, whether it's a strength issue or a mobility issue, you can do like a staggered stance squat or a single leg squat to a bench. Maybe you're holding a weight, maybe you're not. Maybe you're using a TRX to assist you or a band to assist you. All of these variations are kind of progressions that lead up to that. But if you do want some other examples of a pistol squat while I'm talking about it, go ahead and check out my pistol squat program if you are interested in getting that. No pressure if you are not interested, but I figured I'd mention that since I was talking about pistol squats. But another thing, like an advanced mobility exercise, like a Cossack squat, can be modified based on your mobility. So you don't have to go quite as far. You can change it up a little bit. You can use an assistance. You can put a bench behind you. Things like that. You can do some like rocks as well. All of these things can be regressed or progressed to where you're at right now. And it just makes me happy because it's cool, because there's so many different modifications. Anyways, we're not going down that rabbit hole, but kind of. But combos can also be broken down too. So think of, if you see some crazy combo, think about the different components of that and then break down those individual skills. Anyways, continuing, moving on. one of my favorite sayings, and kind of why the whole thing is paradigm of perfection, it's because no one is perfect, and that in itself is perfect. Whether that's consistency, whether it's form, whether it's life, no one is perfect, and it's changing the paradigm of what perfection is. So perfect is not getting it 100% every single time. It's just trying your best and using what you have, and that in itself is perfect. So embracing your flaws, learning from your flaws, always just trying to be a little bit better, that is perfection. So your form isn't always going to be perfect every single time, especially when you're learning something. Having someone give you cues and things like that might help, as well as videoing yourself and then looking back at it and comparing it to what it should be. That can help you progress, and that is perfect. Consistency, again, no one is going to be 100% consistent all of the time. Life is going to happen, things are going to pop up, and that is okay. It's getting back on track sooner and just getting right back into it. So if you didn't work out yesterday, you're going to work out today. If you weren't able to get it done in the morning, maybe you can get it done later in the day. There's been multiple times now that I, have been working at home for too long on my own business, or like doing content, editing, making client programs, etc. And I run out of time before I have to go into the clinic and actually work. So instead of saying, shoot, like I can't do anything today, my workout time is completely gone, I will sometimes walk on the treadmill during lunch. There's been a couple times where I have literally brought a change of clothes just in case I had a free hour during the day, because if like a patient cancels, if an eval doesn't show up, then I have some time, depending on the clinic that I'm in and if there are not other factors and things, and etc. Anyway, but I've been able to get a workout in essentially at a random time during the day, because I had a free hour and because I didn't limit myself to only working out in the morning when it was ideal for me, and I would just fit it in however it was. So you're just doing your best, and that's all you can ask of yourself. So you can be creative with that too. And then honestly, like even consistency with nutrition. Nutrition plays a huge, huge, huge role in fitness, and I don't think people understand how much it impacts things. It's not just exercise that'll lead to the body composition changes, it's also your nutrition, and I would argue that your nutrition is potentially more important than the training that you're doing. And it's learning what works for you and your body, same thing with exercise. And then you don't have to wait until the next week to get back on track. You can seriously just get back on track that next meal, that next moment, every single second of every single day is an opportunity for you to better yourself. And that does sound super intimidating, but it also is freeing, because if you mess up, you can just get back on track right away. So again, no one is perfect, and that in itself is perfect. But let me know which one of these resonated with you below. If you have any, differences in your fitness philosophy, let me know. I'm always happy to kind of chat a little bit more, and I'm always open to learning different things, and people have different perspectives on things, so I'm very interested in hearing your fitness philosophy. But that is mine.